Mike Huckabee has asked Donald Trump to do something interesting, to emulate Andrew Jackson, but in a very specific way. You want to talk about old school, he's going all the way to Old Hickory. So in 1832, a Supreme Court decision came out against what Jackson administration wanted. It affirmed the sovereignty of Cherokee Nation. And so Andrew Jackson didn't want that. And so he did something that was wildly unconstitutional and is a stain on his legacy and a stain in American history. He ignored the Supreme Court and said, we're not a country of laws. I don't care what the judges say. And he forcibly removed Cherokee Nation from Georgia. And that is what's known as the Trail of Tears. Over 4,000 people died on that journey. It's one of the darkest spots in our democracy, okay? And Huckabee is saying, oh, if the court is ruling against your travel ban, just do like Andrew Jackson did. That's amazing. It's amazing.
Like he knows enough about history to reference that, but like missed the point of the history.
Yeah, no, and he's not alone. There's a guy, William Johnson, who's the chairman of the American Freedom Party, but I think misunderstands what freedom means. He says that, he said, quote, you could have Trump do what Andrew Jackson did. And so far you're thinking, are you sure they're referring to the actual Trail of Tears and overriding the Supreme Court? Maybe something else Andrew Jackson did. Let me continue. When he defied the US Supreme Court and had the Trail of Tears. It's not just that, hey, defy the Supreme Court, who gives a crap about democracy? He's saying you should do, and Huckabee talked about this, ignoring the courts and the legislative body. Well, then you don't have democracy, you have a dictatorship. So I told you, these conservatives, not all of them, of course, but this strand, including Huckabee, who ran for president a couple of times, governor of Arkansas, doesn't really believe in our system of government, doesn't really believe in the Constitution. He doesn't believe in the balance of power. He just believes there should be one guy and he should be totalitarian ruler of all of us. And then not Huckabee, but William Johnson specifically said, Trail of Tears, yes, that was great, do just like that.
And remember, Andrew Jackson upended the existing political order at the time on a surge of populist sentiment that he was able to marshal for his own purposes. So the fact that Trump is styling himself in the image of Jackson should be probably considered a little disquieting.
Well, also, I slightly disagree because it's almost all the conservatives who are full of it on the Constitution. I mean, Ted Cruz, walks around with a little Constitution pocket. He believes in the Constitution unless it's a Supreme Court judge that's going to go in place under a Democratic president. Rand Paul, I think is pretty consistent, but most of them, if the law and the Constitution don't favor them, they slightly forget it.
Andrew Jackson reference that Huckabee made is to ignoring the Supreme Court. And he said, hoping POTUS tells Hawaii judge what Andrew Jackson told overreaching court, I'll ignore it and let the court enforce their order. That's a slight misreading of what Andrew Jackson actually said. By the way, Trump is on this Andrew Jackson bandwagon already. He has a huge picture of him up in the White House and has gone to the home of Andrew Jackson in Hermitage and said that he was inspirational and a beloved president. Now, Andrew Jackson's record is a mixed record. It's not just terrible stuff, and he was a populist, and in some ways there were some positive parts of his populism, but not the part where he ignored the Supreme Court and not the Trail of Tears. Those are terrible parts of Andrew Jackson's legacy, and if all these conservatives are celebrating that, well, then at least you have insight into how they view the rest of us.
And Jackson justified his defiance of the Supreme Court on the ground that he had a populist mandate that overrode whatever restrictions the Supreme Court might put on him. So who knows how that'll manifest with Trump.
And Huckabee is another Republican who plays himself off as being a populist, which it just seems like they're cultivating different messages for different audiences at different times.
And these are the guys who give populism a bad name.
Yeah.
Because you can be a populist and still believe in democracy and checks and balances in the US Constitution, just not believe that the elites should rule us and that we should do whatever the donors want. But instead they take it in this right-wing direction that as soon as you say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm with you, let's be against the elites, they go, okay, now I'm the ruler. Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free, tytnetwork.com/join. Come join us today.